on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to Unspoken, the series, with our first episode on AUC beef. I am your co-host, Kennedy Gay, along with
Lisa Hollywood Rozier.
Let's start with some introductions.
Hello, everyone. My name is Audrianna, and I am a Spelman College alumna.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rayon Hunter. I'm a senior theater and performance major at Spelman College.
Hello, everybody. My name is Derrick Robertson. I am a Clark Atlanta University alumni, class of 2018. As a theater arts major.
Hey, everybody. My name is Marcus Tabb, and I am a current senior at Clark Atlanta University.
I'm Jada Davis. I'm a sophomore at Clark Atlanta University, and I'm a social work major.
My name is Brandon Burdett. I graduated from Morehouse College. I was a drama major, class of 2018.
Hey, everybody. My name is Brandon Gipin. I am a current senior, class of 2021, and I'm a theater major at Morehouse College.
I was inspired to have this discussion based off of a phone call that Hollywood and I had the other day, where we were talking about how we didn't understand the beef. And I wanted to bring together representatives from each school, current and graduates, to discuss and hash it out in an open-minded conversation. I honestly think it's necessary, especially in this political climate. And during this whole year of 2020, which we all know has been a year, a lot of things have happened that have really shown us the true value of people who look like us. And I'm going to pass it on to my co-host, Hollywood.
I'm so happy to be here. And yeah, we were literally just talking about probably anything and landed onto this discussion. Okay. So I definitely want to dive into the first question. So the first question is, why did you choose the institution that you chose? And did any other school in the AUC community influence the decision at all? And I'll start off, honestly, truly, with a short answer. I was going to go to Spelman coming out of high school because I did like a dance show or something. When I was in high school, I did a dance show at Spelman. And so I was like, okay, this will be the ideal school for me to go to. But I really didn't want to go to school at all. So then I kind of like brushed that opportunity off. And so then Clark came up. And then it was like, for my mom, it's like, you're either going to go to school or you're going to get kicked out. So it's like, then I need to, really pick at this point. And so I could have still went to Spelman. But for me, I just wanted to have the diversity of the man and the female situation. You know what I'm saying? Like, I always had brothers, so I just never, just had sisters or had whatever. I always had that, combination of the two. So I thought that Clark would definitely be the best home for me. And I'll pass it off into whoever else wants to grab.
I guess I could kind of piggyback off of your story as well. Like, I originally wanted to go to Spelman as well, but I didn't get accepted, which was really funny. So I didn't get accepted, but I did apply to Clark as well. And Clark accepted me. So that's what brought me there. But at the end of the day, I'm happy about my decision. It was a blessing in disguise because I truly do love Clark. I'm happy about all the people I've met, all the relationships I've built. And I was like, at the other university, I might not have met these people. So yeah, at the end of the day, it's a blessing in disguise. That's how I viewed it.
The first time I came to the AUC, I visited the AUC during a high school college tour. That was like the first set of HBCUs that we came to see. I went to Morehouse first, and they gave us like a whole tour, like, the rundown, the campus, talked to us about like what the campus was about and everything. And like, it was cool. And I could tell the guys that were giving us a tour, they were like dressed in suits. They were all like, hello, my name is John. And I was just like, oh, this is really aggressive. And just like kind of like what Lisa was saying, I grew up with sisters. So I was kind of used to like that, just being around women and stuff. So going to all guy school was like, oh, this is intense. I don't know about that. So I was also looking for a theater program, and I didn't know too much about the Morehouse and how like Spelman and Morehouse like merged that program at the time. So once they said no, they didn't have a theater program, I was kind of like, well, that cancels it out for me. And then went across the street to Clark, did the same thing, a college tour. It was really cool because one of the orientation guys like took me aside from the rest of the group because I was the only person interested in theater, and actually took me down to where the theater department was. And just that intimate like tour, I guess, is what kind of like pulled me in to want to apply to Clark.
Similarly, I actually went on a tour. It was like a high school tour to the AUC, and the person who that I was touring with actually was a graduate of Clark Atlanta. So her whole thing was, y'all need to apply to Clark because it's university, it's a good school. And I was like, there are 2 other institutions, And so we did a tour of Spelman as well. And so I actually did apply to Clark, but I actually got into Spelman, so that was my first choice. So
I was just saying, piggybacking off of the Spelman train, I mean, for me, Spelman was just always number one for me. Like, there was honestly nowhere else I wanted to go. I'd apply to all the other institutions and to some other ones, but like, if I had gotten to Spelman, that was just it. Well, when I got into Spelman, that was just it. Yeah. So for the whole time, it was just like Spelman for me.
I went on a college tour in like, high school senior year, but I didn't go to the AUC at all. We had stopped at NCAT, right? That we went through like a bunch of HBCUs throughout the East Coast, and NCAT was our like furthest one. But my parents and like a bunch of other like, people around my neighborhood always kept telling me that they wanted me to go to Morehouse. I didn't really want to go to school because I wanted to, chase my dreams and, just go ahead and just be, an actor and an entertainer and all that stuff. But my mom kind of like forced me. So like I applied to Morehouse and I applied to Clark. I got into Clark and I got into Morehouse. And then I also got into some like schools in New York, like some like film schools and theater schools and stuff like that. But I was like, I kind of, want to, get that, that HBCU experience, just at least for a year, you know what I'm saying? Just to do it. And then I ended up loving it. But the thing also, I saw that they didn't have really like a theater program, but I saw that like, Spike Lee and Samuel Jackson both went to Morehouse. So it was like, okay, I guess, I'll follow among some star. And
has anyone ever taken a class or joined a social club or organization at a different institution? If so, was that experience welcoming?
One of the actually first organizations I've joined in the AUC was at Morehouse. It was a poetry organization. And that was because Clark didn't have a poetry organization, or they didn't have one that grabbed me. Because I went to as a freshman, I went to every single organization fair, like Morehouse, Spelman, Clark. And I knew what I liked. I like poetry and I like theater. You know what I'm saying? Of course, I'm going to go to the CAU players, but Morehouse had this organization called NGAP. And it was everybody in there, Spelman, Clark, and Morehouse. And it was open discussion all the time. And so it was just like a real family thing. And then my first play that I ever was in was at Morehouse. But it's with Spelman and Morehouse, actually. Brandon was in that play too with me.
Sure was.
Being a DJ, ain't that some stuff? ain't that some stuff?
That's funny.
But yeah. So like, I didn't really care. I'm just looking for what I like. I'm looking for an organization. I'm looking for a play. I'm looking for auditions. So I'm going to that, and it's right next door.
For me, first starting off like with the last question, 1, I choose Morehouse because of the money. 2, I grew up in a white neighborhood, so I didn't really even know about HBCUs until my sister went to Howard, and Morehouse is just more well-known than Clark. I didn't even actually know about Clark till I got to Atlanta. I didn't even know it was even there. And I think that's a big thing about the internal division, just the national recognition of like Morehouse and Spelman compared to Clark Atlanta is just not as well known. As far as my participation, obviously being a Morehouse drama student, all my stuff was with Spelman. And I mean, I loved every second of it. It was crazy because like it was unorganized, but there was a lot of tentativeness to want to do anything with Clark. Like just straight up, I think Clark had the best single production that I've seen at the AUC and in the Continuum my freshman year. But ever since that production, I think it was just a common feeling that if Clark asked us to do something, we were trying to save them because they didn't either have the people or the resources to do things to the Spelman, Spriggsboro's level. So yeah, I enjoy working with Clark, but it was always like Clark needs our help, not like we're collaborating as equals.
Yeah, it's same. Like I've worked at Clark before because I worked on Milk Like Sugar with Lisa. And I also worked at Bourbon at the Border. And I don't think that, well, I will say, like, I know that there was just, I don't think there was like any animosity because I love the people that I worked with. They loved us. Like, we loved being over there. Like, those became like our sisters. Like, we became cool. And I got to know more people by being over there. I think where like some of the animosity came from a little bit, just to even jump in it, was like having like Spelman students be cast in the shows over there. And I don't mean to make this a theater thing, but just like departmental wise, like that created like a little thing because they're just like, oh, why are we casting so many Spelman students in our shows and they don't cast us in their shows? And I think it goes back to what Brandon says when it's like, oh, sometimes Spell House, our department feels like we need to save Clark. And it might not even just be like singular to the theater department, but probably other departments too. Like, I know there are Spelmanites who are like, oh no, like if I'm gonna take an easy class, I'm gonna go to Morehouse or Clark. And it's just like, y'all, we got the same difficulty in classes. Now, I'm not gonna speak on Morehouse, but like, I just feel like the classes have the same difficulty. Like, why are we assuming? You haven't sat in that class before. So why are you assuming that the class is easier because it's at Clark?
Well, I actually did take a class at Clark my sophomore year. I'll never forget it. And I was a little apprehensive about taking the course, but by the time I had registered for my classes and gone through the whole financial fiasco and gotten my classes aligned so I could take my courses, I could only take biology at Morehouse or Clark. And so I really wanted to get this course out of the way because, as you know, it comes with the course and then it comes with the lab. And then that's going to take all day. I don't want to be left with like a 4 o'clock class. So I was trying to, fix my schedule and manage it right. So I actually ended up taking a class at Clark. It was an 8 a.m. Biology course, and I felt absolutely welcome. And this is outside of the drama department, but because I'm a political science major, I didn't feel out of place. There was a couple instances where I didn't know where things were, and other students would walk me there, ask me if, how long you've been going here, you don't know where the so-and-so building is. And I'm like, well, actually I go to Spelman. And that's when like the conversation started where people were like, oh, they started acting different. Like, oh, you go to Spelman. Why are you taking a class over here?
Right.
And after we got over that hump, it was great. Like, like I said, I was able to make friendships. I was able to make connections. It built a lot of bridges for me.
So, okay, I actually, I took a class at Spelman, and I was invited to come take this class. And I'm not gonna lie, there was a few moments where I felt like, a little out of place, because the professors and everybody is used to Spelman and Morehouse. Everything is geared towards Spelman and Morehouse. And so I remember like hearing like a speech, and they was just basically saying that, in the drama department, people are really looking for Morehouse and Spelman. And so to hear that as a person that attends Clark Atlanta University, of course I'm going to feel some type of way. That was my experience of, not only experiencing different behavior from, Spelman and Morehouse, but seeing it being taught that, Spelman and Morehouse is this, is better, or they're higher than Clark, and Clark is just this regular situation, when at the end of the day, we're all here. You know what I mean? Like, in my mind, I think my confusion was the whole time was not that we're all Black, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of we're all Black, you know what I mean?
I think part of that is administrative. Like the administrations of each college is so determined to say, no, this is a Morehouse thing, this is a Spelman thing. So we just internalize it in a slightly different way. And every once in a while, because it's men and women, Morehouse and Spelman will team up, but the institutions try to keep things apart so they can get their own individual credit about things.
When did you first learn about the beef or the tension between the institutions?
So I can remember it.
We can sing at the same time, but we cannot talk.
It was like so specific to me because, like I said, my experiences with coming to AUC I was oblivious to this, and somebody just had to tell me verbatim, like, and it was backstage. I forgot who it was, but it was like, yeah, like it's a real thing, you know what I'm saying? And then they mentioned the word Spark House to me, which I ain't never heard before. That's the thing too. Like, cool. I thought it was Spell House and Clark. But now they was like, nah, it was Spark House before, but people just, I don't know.
Well, when I was a freshman, I did a play called A Night in Harlem, and it was basically it was a Spelman and Morehouse production, but like any student from the AUC could audition for the show. I got into A Night in Harlem, and that was my first time experiencing like an AUC family, which is people from all three schools. And I didn't know there was a beef until somebody told me, or until I heard the conversation. And one of the music directors in the show, they said, I feel like there's a difference. It was the same statement that I think someone made earlier, saying like, Clark classes are just easier. You know what I'm saying? You guys just get by way easier than we do. And I didn't understand it at all, because I was struggling my first semester. I was like, is something wrong with me? Am I not college ready? You know what I'm saying? So just like with peers, like just throughout my matriculation at Clark, I started to hear like there was almost like this need of like validation that people were seeking from Spelman and Morehouse. So even if we were like, if there was something going on at Clark, it was almost like, like it was like Clark students would sometimes like need that validation from Spelman and Morehouse to like, oh, we see you, you know what I'm saying? But I've always felt like, why do I need that? I don't need to be recognized by them. You know what I mean? If my work here is just as good, it's just because I say it is, you know what I'm saying? Like, and not because of whatever name or whatever thing I'm trying to prove. So I don't know. I didn't know there was a beef until I was told that there was a beef.
That's funny, because I knew about the beef before I even got on campus. I told y'all Spelman was my number one, so I was deep into Spelman Twitter before I even touched campus. And it all started, I remember very vividly, over the word illustrious. And somebody said, somebody said the illustrious Clark Atlanta on Twitter. And then all of a sudden, all of my Spelman sisters had to jump down this person's throat talking about all this BS that literally makes no sense and that is not helpful in any way. Just over the word illustrious. And I was just so confused. I'm like, wait a minute, I thought we was all illustrious. I thought HBCUs just put illustrious in front of their name, we hype each other up. I thought that was just a thing.
I actually never really understood that, to be honest. Like, I don't understand why we have to use a adjective to describe the school when we can just let the school speak for itself. I know that's probably brought in by like pageants and stuff, but it's unnecessary.
Now it's not just a fight over the word illustrious. Now you have Spelman women saying, or Spelmanites saying, oh, we're illustrious because we're the number one institution. And then it becomes like a class thing. And then that's when you start getting disrespectful and start downplaying somebody else's institution. And that's, I feel like, where the beef comes from, because some people take it too far. And Spelmanites or Spelman women in general are taking it too far.
I want to piggyback off of that, because I promise you, like, before I stepped on the campus of the AUC, I never heard that word before, ever in my life, right? I promise you. And so when I first heard it, it was on the promenade. They were like, oh, they're illustrious Spelman College. And then I saw, like, it was like the first week on the promenade, and then Clark was like, oh, no, we're illustrious Clark. And I'm like, illustrious, let me Google this word, right? And so I Googled the word, and I'm like, why? I also think it's like this thing, I'm gonna put some blame on the men here, it's because like when we on the promenade, it's like, oh yeah, we know she go to Clark. Oh yeah, we know she go to Spelman. Oh yeah, it's like this weird like generalization of what these, and like if you go up to say, oh, you go to Spelman, and she go, no, I go to Clark, it's like now they got an attitude for the rest of the day, and vice versa. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we also contribute to that beef. It's like Spelman girls do this, Spelman women do this, and Clark women do that.
Okay, yeah. I feel like it's just a lot of petty tension. And I'm a person that, whether I went to Clark or not, I just think in my mind, I'm going to think like, there's people dying. You know what I'm saying? Like there's actual stuff that's really going on, and we're over here fighting about words, adjectives, you know what I'm saying? Like, is there something else that we can do to, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. There has to be something else that we can put our energy into.
I agree.
Yeah, that's all I be thinking. Like, it's just, yeah, it's a waste of time. And I mean, even when Kennedy, we talked about it over the phone, and we was talking about how it even stems down to just looks, you know what I'm saying? Just body language. We have so many similarities, you know what I'm saying, that we just won't even understand or come to get to even know, because we have all of this hateration and this dancery. It's like, what are we doing this for?
I think on top of that, I think there's such a desire for community and loyalty. And there's this twisted, toxic expectation that for me to be really loyal or down with my people, I have to dismiss the other. And I think that's a lot of what happens in between like the Spelman women and the Clark women and the Clark men and the Morehouse men. It's like, I mean, it's in the Black community all the time. You feel it's like, these are my people, and I'm going to go as hard as I can for my people, fuck everybody else. And I think like when Jordan Peele was making Us, he said the idea of us has to mean there's a them. And so it's kind of like transitioning the idea of us to being either the entire AUC, Atlanta, Black people in general. Yeah. But that's hard sometimes when literally you're bombarded with all these images of like Greek life, the 3 different schools in a bunch of different areas, literally the dorms, like there's dorm beef. Like we are socialized to try to find some sense of community. And it's just like people choose their loyalty and they'll fight to the death for it.
It starts even from like the school orientations. I remember being at like Clark's, like my first day of like, what is it, the initiation into the school. They were like, you go to Clark Atlanta University. You don't go to Morehouse or Spelman. You go to Clark Atlanta. Like they wanted to emphasize that I am a Clark Atlanta. It's like, okay.
And Clark is famous for saying, we put the U in the university, you know,
and
like we are
AUC,
the only university.
Put the CAU in the
yeah. Clark is definitely famous for that. Like,
who do you think is more responsible for the division within the AUC? Do you think it starts with the administration, or is it all about the students?
I think it's very interesting because we say this whole you know, is in between the whoever. I definitely think it's both. But here's the thing about it, right? Morehouse is its own institution. Spelman is its own institution, and Clark Atlanta University is its own institution, right? And so they're gonna do whatever they want to do for their institution, point blank, period, right? And so it's not. I don't think it's necessarily, oh, I'm doing this because I want to be better than them, or I want to be this and that and the third. It's just I'm doing this for my school because that's how I feel about my school. This is our school. Like this is my school. Like it. Like yes, we're all a community. Yes, we're all one, but we also are separate at the same time. And so it's like you can't like, you know what I'm saying? Like you don't, when you graduate, you don't get a degree from AUC University. You know,
like Spelman students are gonna hype up Spelman to the death of them till they're 6 feet under. They're gonna have a Columbia blue suit on in the casket with their white shoes. Spelman students are gonna hype up Spelman students. Clark is gonna hype up Clark, and Morehouse, Jesus Christ, is gonna hype up Morehouse. And I think it also comes where it's like when you hype up your institution, I feel like certain people start feeling a certain type of way. So they're like, all right, you can hype your institution, but my institution too. And then the other friend's like, my institution too. And then all of a sudden there's beef. And it has birthed an argument.
I think that it's beautiful to definitely be unique and to definitely be different and to have, you know, our like different characteristics. You know, we have different colors that represent different things. But are we a gang? You know, like what would we win if somebody feels so low? You know what I'm saying? Coming from each way.
There's like 2 parts of like the students and the administration. Me personally, I lean more towards like it's the administration that's responsible for the division. But the reason why I say there's 2 parts to the students, because you have those one group of students that grow up like their parents went to a school in the AUC, and so you already know about the beef and like that hidden like separation before you even walk on campus. Me coming from California, I like Brandon's side. I didn't know anything really about HBCUs. I didn't know anything about Morehouse or Spelman. Like I didn't know them as a name. I mean, on TV, but honestly thought it was a fake school. No, I think like even for speaking from the theater department at Clark, like even if you just try to do something at a different school, or you just want to like go audition for something at a different school. It's almost like they kind of make you feel bad for it, as opposed to just like, you know, that's just you just trying to find another opportunity to work on your craft. I definitely think that like the faculty and staff and stuff, they want students to like only do stuff at your institution. Like I want you to feel like your institution brought you this and that. You shouldn't go out to any other institutions and do anything, like, because then it looks like, oh, you're choosing them over us, and it's like, why does it have to be that? Why can't I just go over there and do a little something and come on back?
I feel like the initial animosity kind of comes from Clark feeling like the stepchild. Like you'll hear that often, how it's like you have Spelman, you have Morehouse, that's like the brother sister school, and then it's like you got Clark. And you know, like when they have like I think it was like something that happened recently on Instagram, there was a poll between like the top 10 HBCUs, and it was like it was Spelman and Morehouse, and everybody like, you know, what's up with Clark? Like, why we not, you know? So I feel like we're often forgotten, and that's what makes us so not like malicious, but that's what kind of brings the animosity, like why we ain't getting recognized versus these two schools, you know.
I think the proximity of the schools is a major part as well. If Clark and like say Morehouse stayed in the same space, and then Clark moved to where Georgia Tech is at, and then Spelman went to where Emory is at, then that concentration of energy isn't as strong, and I think there's less chance for beef as well. I think Brandon hit it on the head too, talking about the administration wants its students to do things for its institution, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I also look at it like you look at the political differences. Like if you look at like what Democrats believe in and what Republicans believe in, it's not actually bad on either side. They're very different, but because of the individuals in each party, when you say I'm a Democrat or I'm a Republican, there's this expectation of that person. You think you know this person just because of their affiliation. And I think that's passed on generationally, like from alums from like the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, passing it on down and down and down. Like this is what a Clark person is. This is what a Spelman woman is. This is what a Morehouse man is. And instead of like trying to challenge those things, maybe and looking for acceptance or just trying to find our own way, we've internalized and kept those cycles going.
How far is too far when it comes to the AUC rivalry?
Fighting.
Yeah.
That's too far. I feel like if we fighting, like I'm not like, you know, all day I'll be like, oh, Clark is number one. But at the end of the day, I'm not gonna fight anybody from Spelman, or like I doubt a Clark man would fight anybody from Morehouse. It's not that deep. We could argue and yell about it all day. We could all chant, but I feel like if it came to like people like beefing and like scrapping over it, that's too far.
Last year, Clark football players went over to Morehouse and got down with them, you know what I'm saying? We chanting F Morehouse the whole way there. You know what I'm saying? You on campus, bro. You on campus, bro. You doing hood stuff in college, bro. If you want to do hood stuff, leave it in the hood.
The name calling definitely, especially like when you like coming for the other schools, like I guess level of curriculum, you know, just dumbing it down or something like that. I feel like it's like we deal with enough of that, like just in the world in general, just as like young Black people trying to go to college and do stuff. Like, why am I getting talked about and saying that my school is like less prestigious than yours just because of a name?
I think that it kind of crosses the line when those relationships that you form in the AUC are restrictive based on your institution. Like if I am a student at Spelman and I refuse to be friends with somebody at Clark, or I can't be friends with anyone at Morehouse, that's when it becomes problematic, because then you're not benefiting from the consortium. The whole purpose of them being in the same, I would assume, in the same space is so that there could be some sense of community being built. And I feel like if once you're not able to, you know, use that community, it becomes a waste, and then no one's winning.
I guess when the question of like when it becomes like too far, I was like thinking once you get to alumnihood, like chill out. I feel like that's when it comes too far. Like the beef gets too far once you graduate. If you're saying like, I'm not gonna hire somebody because they went to Clark, you're doing too much. If you're saying like, ooh, if you a grown woman with kids, looking at somebody like, oh, she went to Clark, it is too far. When you graduated and you're still doing this, like you're still having this imaginary beef with somebody from Clark when y'all literally, like, the world is not trying to take out Black people, but low-key is trying to take out Black people. That was very dramatic. But I'm saying, like, if we all from the AUC, let's stick together. Like, oh, you from the AUC? That's my community. That's my people's. Like, who you know, in this world. Like, you shouldn't be graduated still trying to go back on things that happened when you were in college. Move on.
Well, I found a picture or a picture of a poster online from an article that was written in 2016. And this is kind of the example for me of way too far, I guess, because I just don't have the energy nor the time to do anything like this. But it reads, so yeah, I think it's just way too much energy, and it was taken to a place that was not necessary to go to. It's great to have healthy competition and, sports rivalry. I love that. Every time I do the C, I'll be jamming, but then I have to remember that, we're playing against you, so I can't, be jamming to y'all's chant. But I love that we have that. However, when you write something like this, I don't know if it's coming from a place of disdain towards someone that you knew at the other institution, or if you just don't have a line that shouldn't be crossed.
I think also too, what people have to realize is you never know what somebody's going through. You know what I'm saying? Like, you never know where somebody's mindset is. Like, whether they go to Morehouse, Spelman, or Clark, you never know. So in trying to talk down to somebody, if somebody's actually in a down situation, you know what I'm saying? Like, that could trigger something. And again, I said it earlier, we don't all have to agree on the same things in order to fight for the same cause.
Speaking from someone who, didn't get accepted to Spelman, that still isn't like a reflection of my intelligence, because that doesn't to say like, oh, just you go to Clark, so this means you're, less intelligent than us. That's not true at all. People walking around with 4.0s. Currently not one of those this semester. So it's like, it's so intelligent.
Somebody hurt their feelings for real.
And
somebody hurt their feelings in the past and they weren't over it, apparently.
Right. And that's what I was about to say. Like, there's some things that people have to deal with internally. Like, so us even having this conversation right now doesn't mean that the beef is going to end.
Do you think the beef could be settled, or will it always exist?
Always exist. I think there's ways for it to not be toxic. There's just a good natured competition. And I think you have to have that. I think if you lose that, it's just a sense of pride. Like, I believe my school is really great. I love being here. We beat y'all in football. We had these people graduate this, yada, yada, yada. That's all well and good. It doesn't have to be toxic. And I think, it doesn't have to be toxic, but I think it's always going to have that kind of energy. Maybe it won't be quote unquote the word beef. Maybe it'll just be rivalry, because I think those two can live exclusive of each other. Like, you can be competitive with somebody without being angry or thinking you're, looking down on them. So I think the rivalry will always be there, but I think it's going to take some really open-minded and non-pack following people to make the beef go away.
Like, I hope that it stops becoming violent, because if everyone kind of rewind back to Olive Branch, so I know specifically with mine, how each school does their own little chant, that's fun. So in that kind of case, it's cool. Rep your school, be confident about where you go, but don't turn it into a beef per se. Don't turn it into violence. It should never be platonic like that. It should just be friendly. Everybody should still be cool. You should still want to make friendships between each institution. So yeah, hopefully it turns out to be like that versus what it is now.
It also it is very interesting to see like Brandon said, friendly competition is always good, right? It's always necessary, right? I think it's always necessary, but it shouldn't go to the far where somebody like literally feels threatened for their life, that they have to fight, that they have to do any type of thing like that. Like, and like, and it does come from the institution as well, because like they even put us against each other with the dorm wars and all of that stuff. It's all like you said earlier, it's like us or them. Like, why can't it just be us and okay, you too?
Like a new chant that, you know what I mean, or something.
National recognition for the whole AUC, I think, would be a game changer. And
Yeah,
I think that starts with like conversations like these, and like those underlining beefs or stereotypes. If we really flipped that and, you know what I mean, had those discussions and like uplifted all the differences between the schools and what we believe in and stand for. And it's like, and together we are the AUC, you know what I'm saying? And also these great, illustrious colleges and universities.
Like, I love Brandon, when you said about rivalry and like the beef, the tension, like that right there. If we could get that into everybody's minds, like that would be amazing. Because somebody said a quote that they said, and this has something to do with the world, but I also think that it has something to do with this too. But it's like, they create this illusion, we make it real. So this is this is something that's not real, but we're making it real by, you know, putting effort into it, by creating more chance, you know what I'm saying? By the looks, by, you know, the conversations, by, you know, feeling like this part, you know what I'm saying? We're literally feeding into this illusion that's not even nothing.
The last question was really about what could we do to bring together the institutions in a more positive way. And we actually talked about it already. We talked about a chant for all three schools, because we each have our own, but we don't have a collective one that really celebrates all of us together. And then we talked about having a rivalry, but not in a way where it's toxic, by having conversations like these. And I don't even think we need to go further into it. I think we had some good discussions. I'm going to leave this here, though. I am a proud Spelman alumna, and that's never going to change. However, because I am proud of where I went to school, does not mean that I am not proud of each and every one of you that are in the process of getting an education or have already received your degree from your institution. I think it's fine to be proud of where we come from and still coexist and be happy for the other when they graduate. Because at the end of the day, we're all Black people getting an education, which is one of the most valuable things you could ever receive in life. And I'm proud of each and every one of you. I love my Clark Atlanta brothers and sisters. I love my Spelman sisters, and I love my Morehouse brothers. And I hope that we can come together more often via social media or just in personal conversations, friendships, however you want to, you know, bridge the gap, and do it on a regular basis. Not like, you know, have hour-long conversations like this, but just be able to uplift one another and celebrate each other on a daily basis, and not when something tragic happens. Thank you to all the participants who spoke. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to have this conversation. And I also want to thank my co-host Hollywood. You did an amazing job. This is Unspoken AUC Beef. See you next time.